Sometimes the hardest ethical questions we face in this work aren't the dramatic ones. They're the ordinary ones. The kind that show up on a Tuesday afternoon when a client's sitting across from you feeling proud and hopeful and maybe even a little relief, and then suddenly that relief turns into fear because the system has reared its ugly head. And that's where today's dilemma comes from. So imagine you've been working with a client for months. We'll call her Charlene. She's a single mother with 2 small children, ages 4 and 4 months. And she's been out of the job market for 2 years after separating from her partner, who'd been the sole breadwinner. You've helped her rewrite her resume, search for jobs, rebuild her confidence, and finally, she gets hired. And while she's sitting there telling you that for the first time in a long time, she feels like life might actually be turning around, you're sitting on the other side of the table feeling heavy because you know that the system has a message for you to convey to her. Congratulations on the new job opportunity, but now you make too much to qualify for health care. You are $5 over the income limit. Anyway, you tell her, and just like that, her whole world collapses. Because working full-time with no childcare isn't possible. Not realistically, not for her, and not for most families. So now she's sitting across from you, looking defeated, and saying, I want to work, but I can't afford to. Maybe I should just stay home. And if you're from the world of social work, as I am, you probably recognize this feeling immediately. You understand the math, the exhaustion, the fear, and the unfairness of it all. And now you're sitting there, trying your best to regulate your own swirl of emotions while facing an ethical decision you didn't even create. So do you encourage Charlene to move forward with the job, knowing the system is just going to punish her for trying? Or do you support her decision to stay home, knowing that stepping away from work might limit her future opportunities? Neither option feels right. And that's because the truth of the situation is you're pretending she has a real choice when she doesn't. This isn't about Charlene making the right decision. It's about a system that refuses to give her a viable one. So I want to be clear here. I'm not presenting this dilemma to make you feel frustrated and stuck. I'm actually presenting it because it forces us to think about what actually matters when we make decisions inside systems that don't always protect the people we serve. I'm inviting us, the people closest to these realities, to begin shaping new ethical frameworks for the tight and impossible spaces we encounter every day. So, instead of choosing between pushing Charlene to work or protecting her benefits, I want to offer a different way to think about this. So, here are 3 grounding questions that we can use in dilemmas like this. Number 1, what protects Charlene right now? Not the ideal version of the system, not what should work, but what protects her and her children today. Number 2, what preserves her dignity and agency? Because survival matters, but dignity matters too. So what keeps her sense of control intact so she feels capable of reaching for opportunities when the real ones come? Number 3, what does long-term stability actually look like for this family? Not in theory, but in reality. These questions won't give us an answer, but they do give us a compass. And this is where AI becomes part of the conversation. Because sooner than we think, we'll be using AI to screen benefits, predict stability, and to recommend next steps. Someone, or some group, has to define how ethical reasoning works in situations like this. Because as long as income limits exist, families like Charlene's will fall into these no-win gaps. And if we don't define ethical priorities now, AI will default to the logic of the system the way it currently is, and not the way it should be. And that means repeating harm, but faster and with more authority behind it. In the midst of stressing you out on this no-win situation, I want to share that the future can potentially bring us good news. The truth is, AI is flexible, is malleable, and it can be designed to consider more than hard numbers. So I want you to imagine an AI model that recognizes the complexity of real life. One that knows whether Charlene is responsive as a client, whether she's consistent with appointments and fully engaged in the process, one that even accounts for barriers and effort, that basically weighs context and not just income. That kind of model reflects practice wisdom, but only if we build it. Your ethical clarity can be the guardrail that prevents AI from reinforcing the exact policies that harm families now and potentially even create algorithms. So instead of walking away from this dilemma feeling stuck, what I really want is for you to walk away seeing it as a practice, as an invitation to think out loud together, in the comments hopefully, to wrestle with these questions the same way we do in our work. This is where we learn what we value. This is where we learn what matters. And this is where we learn how to shape systems, human or machine, that don't punish people for trying to move forward. And every time we sit with a dilemma like this, we get a little closer to the ethical clarity the future is going to demand from us. So remember, there are no easy answers, only better questions and better guardrails. I'll see you in the next one.